Okay, so we're going to a new sutta today. It's not a very long sutta, but a very important sutta, chapter 6. The title is on the whiteboard, Agata Pativinaya Sutta 2. Agata means resentment, ill will, anger, things like that, negative emotions, if you like. Now, if you look at the word Pati Vinaya, you can see the word Vinaya there. Now, Vinaya, again, is made up of two words. Vi plus Naya. Naya means to take away. Actually, Vi means away. So, Pati means to do it again and again. So, Sutta, of course, means teaching, discourse. So, this discourse is about how to, again and again, train ourselves to deal with anger, negative emotion. Right? So here the Buddha focused specifically on anger so that we can find some practical use for this teaching. The teaching is quite simple. The Buddha teaches us 5 kinds of images. In other words, we picture 5 things. We will come to them in a while. So these are very useful ways of training our mind. In fact, these are the things that are attracting the modern scholars and scientists when they look at Buddhism, because they are amazed that in Buddhism 2,500 years ago, and this is the Buddhism of the Buddha, not the Buddhism of China or Japan or anywhere else. This is the teaching Buddha gave in India itself. In other words, there is no change to it. It's the original teaching, if you like, to put it very simply. That this teaching has got a lot of methods of dealing with the mind, right? So if you like, you can say the Buddhism that the Buddha taught, what is it about? We can say, in simple, very simple way, we can say it deals with the mind. Because if you deal with the mind, you deal with everything else. If you deal with the mind, then you overcome your worries, your fears, all our problems start with the way we think, right? Even our sickness, right, has to do with the mind. So if you understand the mind, then you understand everything else, right? That's the easy answer. Then, of course, how do we do it? There is what is called the 3 trainings. In Buddhism, we have what's called the 3 trainings. So now we go into the practical details, if you like. The first training is called moral virtue. Okay? Now, moral virtue refers to body and speech. How we deal with the body, discipline the body, and how we deal with our speech. This is because we have a body, and we have to start there, right? In other words, very often, what prevents us from really knowing Buddhism, the very first hindrance is our body. For example, if we sit too long, we feel tired, right? If you sit the wrong way also, you're not comfortable, and so on. And if you're too young also, you can't pay full attention. If you're too old also, it's quite difficult. You have to make effort. Even if we are in between, the right age, we might have other thoughts. Right, about the body, we want to exercise this body, we want to be healthy, we're not interested in religion, right? So you have so many hindrances, you've got to deal with the body first. Understand the nature of the body, right? So this is where the 5 precepts come in, right? The 5 precepts, especially the first 4 precepts, deal with the body. First 3 precepts deal with the body, yeah? Not to kill, not to steal, not to commit sexual misconduct with the body. Then the 4th precept deals with speech. Speech also is part of the body. Okay? So these are moral virtue deals with the body. We're comfortable with the body, we feel happy with the body, then we can sit quietly, like the way you are sitting here, to receive the Dharma. So what's happening here, in other words, is we can sit peacefully here and let this piece of the Dharma sink into our hearts, right? Not many people can do that. Some people think, oh, I want to listen to a famous teacher. I'm not interested in suttas, I want to hear a famous teacher. But the wise person will say, I want to hear the Dharma. It doesn't matter who talks about it. I want to hear the Dharma. You can even study the Dharma yourself, right? You can study the suttas yourself, for example. So this is where, if we are able to sit quietly, very peacefully, that's the beginning of our Buddhist practice. So this got to do with the body, right? And then of course speech. Speech also regarded as part of the body. In other words, what we say or don't say sometimes also can affect the way we think, and also affect how we understand the Dharma. So in Buddhism, in a sense, we talk about right speech, talking in the truth, speaking what is useful, what is pleasant, what is helpful to others, what is unifying, and so on. Okay? And yet, the best kind of speech in Buddhist practice, in meditation, is silence. For example, now as you're sitting here, you're all silent. This silence is a preparation to receive wisdom. It's just like a new tape or a new computer. The disk, the tape must be clean, empty. Then you can put information into it. So whenever we come to a sutta study like this, we come for a Dhamma talk, we come for meditation, we come with an open heart, we come with a clear mind. Right? We just forget about all the things we have learned before, we forget about what we know. We just come like little babies, if you like, except that we are much older, so our minds are more mature, but the mind is clear and open. That's the best way to learn. We have never studied this sutta before, we never even heard of this name, Agata Pativinaya Sutta. So this is a very wonderful surprise we have to give ourselves when we study the sutta. This sutta is 2,600 years old, and it has come down to us for so long. Can you imagine? Older than Shakespeare, older than even the printed holy books of other religions. So the fact that this teaching has been able to be handed down, right down to our times itself, is a very wonderful thing. That means people see some value in these ancient teachings. And then they handed it down to many countries, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, Southeast Asia. Some of these countries have lost their Buddhist texts. Like in Cambodia, you find within one generation, everything was uprooted. The whole Khmer culture was uprooted. So that once when one of my friends went there, they went to the temple Vesak Day, recently a few years ago that is. There was nothing going on, And then when this person asked me, why are you not celebrating Vesak Day? He said, what is Vesak Day? They don't even know what Vesak Day is. So you can imagine how the culture is uprooted. And Cambodia was once a very strong Buddhist country. We have a Cambodian Tripitaka, Cambodian Buddhist scripture. It's almost lost. Fortunately, we have the Thai version, Burmese version, Sinhalese version, and of course the Indian version and Western version. So all these things are in Pali. Right? That's another problem for some of us, we don't know Pali. But there's so many people today who are very good in Pali. Scholars, they are experts in Pali. Buddhist monks, Buddhist nuns, even Buddhist laymen, they're good in Pali. But being good in Pali is only good in the language. It's like a key, You have a key, you must open the door, right? And the door opens into this wonderful treasury. What is the treasury? Peace of mind. When we study all these suttas, ultimately it's about peace of mind. But you can only get a peace of mind if you listen carefully to what the Buddha is trying to tell us. So this is a record of what the Buddha said long ago. And it is preserved in such a way that we can understand it in our own language also. That's one level of understanding, right? So second level of understanding, second level of training, right? I already talked about first training. Second training is mental training. Training of the mind, cultivating of the mind. When we start to meditate, we sit down quietly. We sit on the floor, we sit on the chair. We sit very comfortably. Why? Because we want to calm our body down. We don't want to move around, then we'll be excited. Then we close our eyes, we don't want to see anything, we don't bother about sounds, we just let the sounds come, let the sounds go. In other words, all the five senses, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, are given a rest. It's like we switch off the five handphones we have. Now we are prepared to look directly into the mind. That's called meditation. Or even simple things like you're sitting now, directing your mind, your attention to the teaching. Right? So that's mindfulness. It's a kind of meditation. As you do this, if you are very attentive, something's happening to your mind. You're going to learn to become more peaceful. You're going to learn to become more happy, in other words. I've been teaching this for the last 30, 40 years, maybe longer. I keep saying 30, 40 years, but I keep forgetting I'm already 65 this year. And I've been in touch with Buddhism since I was middle teenage, Right? So it's a very long time. And all my life I wanted to know the suttas. I'm so happy now I'm able to translate the suttas directly from the Indian language into English. I write all the notes. So in this book, you see the most detailed explanation of the suttas you can get anywhere. In fact, this is what people tell me when they use this book. They say, wow, this series, there are 45 volumes of this now. Hopefully by the end of my life I can finish up to 110. But that's only like 2/3 of the Buddhist scripture. The other 1/3 maybe next slide. Somebody can take over. But because of the detailed study, that's the best I can do, provided I can live that long. But what has been done now, the 45 volumes are themselves very useful, helpful already, just as they are. So this is an example now we have before you. And all these are also available now to anyone, anywhere in the world who has a computer. Everything is online. My time, 40 years ago, when I was a monk, it was so difficult even to get a proper Buddhist book. And if you get a small booklet of Buddhism, I'm so excited, so happy. And you hear somebody come to talk about Buddhism, it doesn't even happen to be a Buddhist, it's some strange Hindu Swami or to talk about Buddhism. We all crowd the hall and listen, and he's talking something and not about Buddhism. So you can imagine those days, it was kind of so difficult for us to know Buddhism. But nowadays, today, there are so many books, all kinds of books, printed form, digital form, and all kinds of speakers. We are spoiled for choice. So in other words, we have more choices than what we want to study. Once you have more choices, it's a problem also, so we don't know what to choose. The simple rule is, choose something that brings you peace of mind. Choose something that makes you happy. For the last 12 years, I've been doing this translation with suttas. Some people say suttas are boring. Why do they say that? Because we have defilements. Of defilement, one excitement. Right? So when there is something which tells us, be at peace with yourself, say, oh, that's boring. So look for something that you like in the sutta. There's always something that you just flip through, casually look through, and you find there's something that will interest you. And start from there. Okay? Or maybe somebody may tell, hey, why don't you read the sutta? Very interesting. So one way to make the sutta interesting is through wisdom. Listen, people tell you the secrets, These are the wonderful part of the sutta, right? That's how I got interested in the sutta, right? One way. The original reason why I got interested in sutta is because I told myself, every religion got their sacred texts. That's how you really know the religion. Anyone can say anything about the religion if you don't know whether it's right or wrong. You've got to go back to the Holy Scriptures, the sacred texts. So I tried to find out what are the sacred texts. Right? So that's my first interest when I was a Buddhist, and later I became a monk for 20 years to study all this, to study Pali. I had to study Thai first, and then use Thai to study Pali, and then later on translate. And then after I've translated, I said, wow, this is really wonderful. These are really happy things, I think we should share with people. Because when people have problems, you find there are many things in the suttas you can use to help them. So today's sutta is one of them. But in order to help people, you must have a calm mind and a happy heart yourself, because if you don't, how are you going to help? people. I mean, you still can, but it's going to be very difficult. You will not succeed. But of course, the effort is always worthwhile, and we learn through helping others. Remember, suffering is something you cannot escape from life. Suffering is telling us there's something missing in our life, something not correctly done. In other words, it is a time to learn. Everyone goes through suffering, even the Buddha himself. But the Buddha looked at suffering very carefully and he learned a lot of things. So suffering is telling us what's going on. Our body feels pain, that is suffering. Our body is telling us something's wrong. Maybe we slept wrongly or something is wrong in our body, then we attend to it. Okay? But we only know what's wrong when our mind is clear. That's why meditation is very important. Meditation first helps us to calm the mind, just like water, you bring water in the river, it's a bit muddy and murky, we let it stay still for as long as possible, and then the water settles, then becomes clear, calm and clear. Two very important terms in meditation. When we sit quietly, we calm the mind. As you sit quietly here, I hope that by the end of this class, you have some calmness. Or when you remember this class, you remember calmness. And then you think about it. You use this calmness. The calmness is like a looking glass, like a clear lens. You look through, you can see clearer. That's wisdom. Calmness, or joy, brings wisdom. Calmness, clarity. Clarity is wisdom. They come in pairs. These are two aspects of meditation. So this is the second training of the mind. You combine training of body, keeping your precepts, you are at peace with your body and speech, you have nothing to worry about that, no guilt, you have peace of mind. These two combined brings wisdom. What is wisdom? Wisdom is useful knowledge. Wisdom is knowledge that we apply to cut down suffering through greater wisdom. Wisdom makes us feel peaceful, feel happy. It's different from knowledge. I know how to use the computer, but it doesn't make me wiser. It doesn't make me, never be awakened or enlightened. I use it for something else. It's useful, but wisdom is different. For example, wisdom is, let's say, what if I don't have a computer? What if my computer breaks down? What do I do? Right? Or simple thing like, sometimes our computer is very slow, Some people, the computer moves slow, they start cursing, you hear very nice vocabulary, Get very angry, very upset, they do all kind of funny things, But then for me, if the computer goes slow, I got a big bottle of water, I drink my water. Because the doctor said you must drink 20 cups of, how many cups? I forget already. 10 cups of water every day, So it's take your time, tell the computer, drink my water, right? Yes. So you use your wisdom to live life, flow with life, be happy with life. When things don't work, you know what to do, and you're happy, other people are happy, that's called wisdom. Knowledge is something we simply use because we know it, we don't care about people. So knowledge is very different. Knowledge is like information, just information, heartless information. Wisdom is a full-hearted, joyful, helpful kind of wisdom, or knowing, if you like. You can also use the word knowing generally. So it is this wisdom that liberates us, that frees us from suffering. We can go a little further here. In other words, what does it mean to be awakened? A lot of Buddhists don't think they will awaken in this life. I find this very strange. This is one of the big problems that troubled me when I was a Buddhist. I said, how come the Buddhists, they don't seem to be confident that they will awaken in this life, that they will become enlightened in this life. Other religions, people will tell you, oh yes, I'm sure to go to heaven. They are so confident, But I don't want to go to heaven. But that's a permanent, it's a temporary place, it's permanent, So here, to be a Buddhist, number one is to be happy in this life. Okay, first thing, to be happy in this life. To be happy in this life, understand the three trainings which I've just mentioned. And the question is, how do we become enlightened that the Buddha is talking about? This is to look around what you see. Look around. This word is called manasikara. Manasikara, or more exactly, yoniso manasikara. Now this sounds Japanese, yeah? Actually it's Pali. Okay? This is not a Japanese soup, eh? Right? Sounds a very nice name for a Japanese soup. But it's nothing to do with Japanese. Yoni means the womb, the female womb. Yoniso makes it like an adverb. Okay? Yoniso means down to the origins. So the womb is our origin, so to speak. Yeah? So this is used in a figurative sense. We look at things down to the origin, yoni, yoniso. Okay? Mana or manasa, that means the mind. Manas is the mind. And then you add the y, either to join up, kara means to do. Manasikara means mind work, if you like, other literal translation. You work your mind. So manasikara means to pay attention. To pay attention. You direct the mind one way. Okay? Direct the mind to the Dharma. Okay? So what I'm doing now, I have this very wonderful privilege as I sit here, is to try to voice to you what was voiced 2,500 years ago. And if you listen carefully, you will get that message. That message has made me a very happy person all these years as a Buddhist. That is why I have given up the way of talking like many other popular speakers. They'll tell you things to make you happy, they tell you about big things. But in the end, you go back, they're useless. They don't help you, they don't change you. To be a Buddhist means you got to change yourself. You become a better person, a kinder person, a happier person. Do we become happier, kinder, better person after we have come to a temple? After we listen to Buddhist talks? We should. If not, we've got to go on looking. And the best way is to listen very carefully to what the Buddha has to say in the suttas. So yoniso manasikara has a special meaning. Even if we don't go anywhere to listen to the Dharma, we don't go to India, holy place, even at home, some people they can't move, you get stuck at home. It's okay. You can, wherever you are, as long as your mind is clear, you can study the Dharma. The Buddha once pointed out to tall trees, those what I call sal trees, the tree under which the Buddha was born. He said, if these trees can think, if these trees can choose between good and bad, they can become enlightened. They can become streamliness. So our purpose is to become streamliness. The first stage, as lay people, to go to the boat on the stream towards nirvana. We can do that in this life itself by reflecting on impermanence. Everything is impermanent. Keep on telling yourself every day, whenever you can, keep on telling yourself. This is the best prayer you can do to yourself. Because when you do this, you de-traumatize yourself. You prevent yourself from being shocked by the change you see in the world. I had good eyes those days. 10 years ago, I could see the screen so clear, and I do my translation work. Just look at the screen, I can remember the joy I had. So clear, high definition screen. I still have the high definition screen, but my eye is not high definition anymore. I got glaucoma. Luckily, I've been treated early, so I got to sometimes see very closely. Even then, I got time limit. After a while, my eyes cannot take it anymore. So I have to spend less hours with the computer. But still, I can work. It's impermanent. So I'm not upset. I didn't say, look, Buddhism did this to me. I do all the sutta translations in my eyes like that, like this. We can blame anyone, anything we like. But it's the eyes. You want to blame conditions. Conditions. The world is conditioned, right? So yoniso manasikara means, number one, when you look into the world, what do you see? Right to the bottom of it all, you see conditions. Everything is conditioned by other things. Right? No one cause, no one effect, many causes, many conditions. That's another way of talking about impermanence. Yoniso manasikara also means when you look at things, you see everything as impermanent. This is your best meditation. You don't even need to sit to do this, to meditate, although you can do that. You don't need. Anytime, standing, walking, sitting, lying down, even before sleeping, you can do this meditation, this reflection. It's called a perception. Impermanent, everything is impermanent. Always tell yourself that. Then one day something happens. Yeah? Something precious we have breaks or stop working. It's impermanent. Nothing to get upset about. A close friend we have, someone we love dies. Impermanent. Recently, Rana's elder sister passed away in Alaska. He was sick for a while. She was sick for some time, cancer. And she dies very peacefully. Why it's interesting is this ceremony is very special, you know. The pity I was not there because I had to stay home. It's a very big family, and this eldest sister follows the Nichiren tradition, you know what I mean? Chantas, Japanese mantra, you know. And the family, they got Buddhists and Taoists, you know. So the brothers went to see the Nichiren people and said, look, you know, our sister has passed away, you know. Can you come and perform the chanting for us? And then they said, oh, if you want us to go, you only chant our way, nothing else. Are you willing to do that? The brothers thought about it and said, no. We also want other Buddhists to chant, not just you. I mean, after all, that's our tradition, you know. We open anyone who's a Buddhist, can come and chant. So they rejected. They just say, it's okay, we can do it ourselves. So they did it themselves, and they did it very beautifully. The interesting, nobody do all those big, loud crying and say, oh, sister, please come back, and so on, you know. I mean, if she really came back, I think you don't know what to do, you know. So we cry, we ask for all these funny things which we don't know what happened, it will really come true, you know. Someone is dead, so it's okay, impermanent. So they talk about themselves, they say, you know, our sister lived a good life, now she has passed away, no more suffering, it's really wonderful for her. They were smiling and happy, of course, some were tears in their eyes, so we miss loved ones. They're very positive. To tell you the truth from the story I heard from Rana, I know they're also very sad deep inside. Okay? There's some psychological term for it, you know, displacement or whatever. They're actually very sad, just that they feel there's no point showing it out in a crying, noisy way. So the men in the family, the brothers, went home to their house. They said, hey, let's sing some favorite song that you like. So they start singing all these songs. And they're so happy for her. I think that's a wonderful way to go. Very few joysticks. Nice picture there of her smiling. And somebody said, hey, you can see a Buddha image under her throat, you know. And so on. So everybody is basically very positive with the fact that she passed away. At the time of our passing, I mean. And people had good memories. In such a big family, and the family had a chance to get to know each other again. So this is how we reflect on impermanence. We accept impermanence. And it's very important. You're not shocked by it. Okay? So yoniso manasikara, reflection, looking into the, paying attention to true reality, true nature of life. In fact, this is the key teaching in our sutta today. Okay, that's quite a long introduction. Because it's a short sutta, I thought the introduction would help you, especially if you're new to the suttas. Yeah? Okay, let's look at page 118. Now once again, remember, if you find the sutta name is too long, look at the number. You can see it somewhere, I think the second line on page 118. Can you see the number A5.162, right? And that's the sutta number, okay? So you cannot remember the Agata Pativinaya Sutta, remember A5.162. Or at least remember what the sutta is about. Oh yes, in this translation series, which I've been doing for the last 12 years, I've also been giving names to the suttas, because some suttas have no names. So we give you a name easy to refer. Some suttas got the same name. So for example, Metta Sutta, all got Metta Sutta, you don't know which Metta Sutta. So I will give a prefix to the name so that it becomes a unique name. So this is what we do in this translation also. We give all the suttas is special name, so we can refer to them. Let's begin with the sutta, page 118. Then the Venerable Sariputta addressed the monks. Awuso. Okay, here, this is not the Buddha talking to Sariputta. Sariputta is the Buddha's right-hand monk. He is the wisest of the monks after the Buddha. So this is his teaching. Alright? But anyway, what he teaches also what the Buddha taught. Awuso is something like brothers. Same level of people addressing each other. Okay? The monks addressing the monks. And then also the monks replied to the Venerable Sariputta in assent. The Venerable Sariputta said this. Also, there are these 5 ways of removing resentment by which, or so that resentment that has arisen in a monk would be removed completely. Right? 5 ways of removing anger, negative emotion. Okay, so here you have a traditional systematic way. Right? First is a syllabus, first part. Right? You can see 5 ways of overcoming resentment. And then each of the 5 is elaborated after that. Look at 2.2. What are the 5? Here also, a certain person is impure in bodily conduct, but pure in verbal conduct. Also, resentment to such a person should be removed. Right, first person, his body action is not good, but his words are okay. His words are nice. Okay? Now, second kind of person. Furthermore, here also, a certain person is impure in verbal conduct, but pure in bodily conduct. Also, resentment to such a person too should be removed. But the second person, his words not very good, maybe harsh or unfriendly, but actions is kind, action are good. Again, we got to remove our negative attitude towards this person. Third kind of person, furthermore, also, some person is both impure in bodily conduct and impure in verbal conduct. But occasionally he obtains an open mind, a heart of bright faith. Also, resentment to such a person too should be removed. And this third person, action not good, speech also not very kind, not very good. But sometimes this person seems to be happy, seems to be good. There's a little bit of right there. Of course, here the context is that the monks. We can apply this broadly to anybody, anywhere, at home, or at work even. So this third person is negative both speech and action, but sometimes it seems okay. Then number 6 brackets 4. Furthermore, here also a certain person is both impure. No, sorry, the last one. I read that already, right? Have I read that? Okay, now the last one. Okay. Number 4 is different, okay? Furthermore, here also a certain person is both impure in bodily conduct and impure in verbal conduct, but does not obtain an open mind or a heart of bright faith occasionally. So 3 and 4 are very similar. 3 and 4, they are both this character, bad speech, bad conduct. Body is bad, words also bad. Yeah? But in the case of number 3 rather, sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it seems happy. But number 4, all the time negative. Okay? So this is number 5. Number 4 rather. Now number 5. Furthermore, here also a certain person is both pure in bodily conduct and pure in verbal conduct, and occasionally obtains an open mind, a heart of bright faith. Also, resentment towards such a person too should be removed. So this person actually is okay, but sometimes we do have negative feelings towards even good people, right? So these are the 5 kinds of people, okay? Number 1, action is bad, speech okay. Number 2, speech okay, action bad. Number 3, both speech and action are bad, but sometimes it's okay. Number 4, speech action bad all the time. Okay, and the last one is the very nice, wonderful person. Action okay, speech is okay. Right? So we must get rid of negative emotion, anger, negative feelings towards these 5 kinds of people. Now, how do we do this? Now we come to the actual teaching. Big number brackets 1. Towards one with impure deeds but pure speech. Here also, as regards that the certain person who is impure in bodily conduct but pure in verbal conduct, how should resentment towards that person be removed? Here, the Sariputta uses the parable of the dust heap rag, a piece of rag. Okay? Now look at 9.1. Also, just as a dust heap monk, okay, a dust heap monk, Pansakulika monk, is a monk who follows a very strict rule. This was extra rule he decided to follow, that he's only going to use patch ropes, very rough kind of ropes. He's going to pick cloth here and there, cloth people throw away, cloth that is used to wrap up a dead body, he will, cloth that has no owner. He will collect all these rags and he will stitch them together. Like almost like a baby's blanket, but more rough than a baby's blanket. This kind of ropes, you don't trim it nicely, tailored kind of cutting, very rough, like gunny sack. Gunny sack is more smooth, by the way. So imagine you wear this kind of thing. If you got sensitive skin, you'll be tickled to death, So if you're wearing this kind of rough rope, very rough. This is the strict rule, extra rule that this kind of monk. So this monk, he will look, as he walk on the street, you see sometimes in ancient India, they have a custom. Sometimes when the baby is born, they use a cloth, clean the baby. Then after that, they will throw the cloth outside. They will say, may some holy man whose karma is good find this cloth, and may this baby benefit from the blessing. Something like that. They do a ballad making that way, So this monk will collect cloth that has no owner, and then will use it to make ropes. After they wash it clean and boil it in some kind of bark to give it a dark color. Sometimes you see monks wearing dark color, so they use some bark to boil. I think sometimes they use something called bakau. I don't know if you heard of bakau. Bakau is a kind of plant bark which they use for those shipbuildings, small little wooden ship fishermen go up in. Anyway, it's a kind of astringent. The bark, they boil the dry bark and you get a dark color, and that gives the robe a uniform color and also purifies it. Of course, in Buddha's time they do not have germs, but today we know when you boil that it kills the germs. So this monk, he finds a piece of cloth. Seeing a shred of rag on the road, steps on it with his left foot and spreads it out with his right, and right there tear off the good part, taking it with him to go on his way. It's very interesting. So from here we begin to know how these Pansakulika monks, this very strict monk who follow the right rope rule, you find a piece of cloth on the rope, it's not part dirty or some parts are torn. So he will step on the torn part, he will step on the part which is bad, and then he will straighten out the cloth and then use his hand to tear the good part away and he will keep that. Later he collect all this and he will stitch into the ropes. So here Sariputta uses this image. He says, you see this monk, he only takes the good part of the cloth, the bad part he just leave aside. You have an idea of what you're supposed to do. Look at the next line. Even so also, as regards the certain person who is impure in bodily conduct but pure in verbal conduct, one should pay no attention to his impure bodily conduct at that time, but instead pay attention to his pure verbal conduct at that time. In this way, should the resentment be removed, the resentment will be removed. So, remember this, next time you meet somebody, bodily action may be very noisy or rough and so on, but the speech is nice, right? So you just recall, oh, the person speak very nice, right? Very peaceful. So remember the good parts. In fact, it's a simple way of dealing with problems. Look at the good side of things. Just like the monk discovers this little piece of cloth, right? Now remember, these teachings are very precious. Don't summarily say, oh, I know this one already. That's why we get into trouble, you know? Because we don't reflect these teachings. We don't feel for this teaching. We know a lot of good, wonderful teachings. We hear many suttas, maybe. But remember, that is knowing, that is information. In other words, it has not become really part of us. You must turn this information into wisdom. The best I can give you maybe is information, to be honest. Huh? You turn it into wisdom. You turn it into wisdom by feeling it and say, wow, look at this monk. Imagine this monk. He's found his piece of cloth, he stepped on the torn bad part and keeps the good part. Now once you reflect in this way, you feel it, and then you feel very peaceful inside. The next time you meet someone negative like that, very bad action, but words very nice, you say, okay, and then you naturally will know what to do. You naturally will know what to do. You don't argue with yourself. You know, our problems are caused by the clever mind, not by the stupid mind. It's the clever mind that starts telling, do this, do that, like we get into trouble, right? Now we must go beyond both minds and then calmly, joyfully deal with the situation. Okay? So it's the first one. Then, second kind of person. This person, speech not good, action okay. Section 10, number 10. Here also, as regards to the certain person who is impure in verbal conduct and words, but pure in bodily conduct, how should resentment towards that person be removed? Here we have the parable of the overgrown lotus lake. Overgrown lotus lake. Also, just as there is a lotus lake overgrown with seval, seval is a kind of water plant, tiny leaves, and water plants, just thick with water plants. And a person all scorched up, overcome by the heat, were to come along, tired, parched, and thirsty. So this traveler is very tired, on a hot day like today. So he's traveling and he comes to this beautiful, to this lotus pond. But the lotus pond has a lot of plants on the top. He would plunge into the lotus lake with both hands, push aside the seva and the water plants this way and that way, and then filling his cup hands with water, drink it and depart. Okay, in those days they do that. From the lake. So the earlier Sariputta says, that's how you do it. Imagine, you were very thirsty, you're a traveler, and then you come to this lotus lake and found so many plants on the top. You go in, you use both hands, you just push apart and drink the water. Right? So the reflection here is, it's okay, the lake is covered up with plants. You don't stand on the lake and say, oh, you're covered up with plants and I can't drink the water. You can, you just push away the plants and there's water underneath. Right? Those plants that have roots in the water, interesting, I read somewhere, those roots actually also suck in all the toxins and impurities. So in a sense, the water is pure in that sense. At least in this lotus pond anyway. So you push away all the plants and then you get the clear water. So same thing with this person whose speech is negative but bodily action is good. Push away what? Push away, don't think about the negative speech. Remember the positive good actions. The second method, the method of pushing away the water plants. You get clear, clean water to drink. Second method. Now third method. Towards one with impure speech and impure deeds. But someone who occasionally is okay. Section 12. here also, as regards the certain person who is both impure in bodily conduct and impure in verbal conduct, but occasionally obtains an open mind, a heart of faith, a heart of bright faith, how should resentment towards that person be removed? Okay, here is a parable of the hoof print puddle, print of in the mud. 13.1. Also, just as there is little water in the cow's hoof prints, and a person all scorched out, overcome by the heat, or to come along, tired, parched, and thirsty, this occurs to him. Now there is a bit of water in the cow's hoof print. If I were to use my fingers or a cup, I would disturb and muddy it up and make it unfit for drinking. What now if I were to go down all fours and drink it like a cow does, and then go my way? So he would go down all fours, slurp it up like a cow, and go his way. Oh, we won't do this nowadays. But remember what the intention is here, right? How this person would treasure this water. I mean, it's so thirsty, and the day is very hot. There's a little hole there in the ground, in the mud, and there's water there. And the water is quite clear. So you move a little bit, the water will get disturbed. So you have to go down very carefully and drink it like a cow, right? So what does this mean? Again here, you got to look. That moment when this person is good and kind, remember that moment. Okay? Now there are a lot of negative people in our lives. They do a lot of bad things to us. Now if you think of all the bad things they do, you're going to be very unhappy. In fact, you don't have to make an effort, these thoughts will come to you. Yeah? One of my lessons, some of my lessons were very exciting, very interesting people. This person said, I cannot forgive so and so. After all the Buddhist training, I still say that I cannot forgive this person, I hate this person, and so on. So I had to spend quite a bit of time, to calm this person down and say, well, if you do that, you're only harming yourself. This person's karma will take care of itself, so you have to deal with yourself. What you're carrying is a memory, is a pain. You must let go of that memory, let go of that pain. It's all in the past. Remember this little puddle of clear water. Talking about puddle of clear water, this happened to me, when I was a young student, late teenage. I used to climb Mount Piya those days, Gunung Ledang. Those days it's very nice to climb, but there's no road up there. You got to go to the jungle. If you are good, you take 4 hours to climb to the first mountain from Asahan. If you have slow people, then you take 7 hours. I took 7 hours. I got some young friends with me who never gone to the jungle before. Then I told them, first thing is, don't gulp down water like at home. You got to sip the water. When you're thirsty, you sip it. We don't have much water. No clean water anyway, because it's a jungle, it's a mountain we're climbing. So we all brought a lot of water, but they didn't listen. They're thirsty, they drank, gulp, and then we are hardly halfway. No more water. And they asked me, water? So my water was gone. So in the end, we all don't have any more water left. It's very hard to walk without water in the jungle, especially going uphill. So we thought ourselves, what do we do now? We have no more water, It's very hard, we can't go on anymore. And I couldn't go on myself, I was so thirsty. Then I looked down on the ground, I saw this, those sardine cans you open up, right? Those oval sardine cans. There's very clear water in it. It looks very clean. So I told them, I said, wow, that's water. They said, no, I'm never going to drink it. But these other kids, they're kind of very spoiled kids living very nice home, So they said, I'm never going to drink one of a can. And I said, well, I have to drink, otherwise I can't move on. So I said, I'll just drink a bit. So I drank water from the tin can. It was very clean. And halfway, they dragged me by my collar, they pulled me and said, stop drinking, and told me. I said, why? I said, the water is in the can, you don't know whether it's clean or not, So I said, I'm okay with it. I said, yeah, you're okay with it. What if you die? You can't go home. If you die, you can't go home. I said, okay, so I have to give up drinking the water just to give them confidence. I said, in that case, I have to do something else. Because we are really going slow, the four of us. I said, okay, which two of you want to stay back? The other two will go up to the first mountain. Then there is a rushing stream there. We get water from there, and we come back. So two of them stay behind, two of us, because it's not very far. So we will leave all our baggage behind. So we just walk very easily, get the water, come back, give the water, everybody got water, and we managed to reach our campsite just at sundown, luckily. You are lost in the jungle when there's no sun, you're in serious trouble. And they said there are tigers there, by the way. So it was a very exciting trip, by the way. So there you are. So the little container of water reminds me of this also. The story reminds me of the container of water. How water is precious, how life is precious. Alright, so this parable is about remembering the good aspect of people, even a little bit. Remember it. That will keep you happy. In our loving kindness meditations, we say, may all beings be well and happy. But some people say, oh yeah, very hard, I cannot do that. Especially beginners, They say, may all beings be well and happy except my neighbor. My neighbor is very bad. You can't do that. You cannot say except. in meditation, everyone, you say, may all beings be well and happy, especially my nasty neighbor. And you find things will change, we actually had a very nasty neighbor in our Buddhist center, in the mining center, because we have an office there. Our neighbor happened to be what's called a debt collector company. And they can be quite nasty people, In fact, they were so nasty, they didn't pay the rent for many months, and the landlord didn't know. Yes, they were debt collectors too, so they know all the ins and outs of how not to get caught with debt, So finally, when the landlord found out, they had to leave. That 1 year with us, which was really hell. You talk about tenants from hell, it was really bad time for them. So much problems. So I'm not going to go into all the details, but it's really bad time. And then finally they had to leave, So we were very patient. We keep sending our loving kindness to them. We are nice to their workers, and maybe their workers were not paid also, So workers keep on leaving so often, So finally they're gone, right? So there you are. So now we say, oh, hopefully the next tenant is a good one. So this is where you need loving kindness, People out there can be bad, angry and so on. That's their karma. If they are bad or unhappy, obviously they don't experience joy. If you are joyful, you won't do bad things. So be happy, make people happy. You make people happy, it's more likely easier for them to do good. If you feel happy, it's easier for you to keep your precepts also. Alright, so now next one, number 3, right? 3 done already. We've gone to number 4. Next page, page 120. Towards one with impure speech, impure deeds, unpleasant mind. Section 14. Here also, as regards the certain person who is both impure in bodily conduct and impure in verbal conduct, who does not obtain an open mind, a heart of right faith, even occasionally, how should resentment towards that person be removed? Here there is a parable of the sick traveler. The suffering traveler. Also, suppose a sick person in pain, seriously ill, is traveling on the road far from the next village, far from the one behind too, and he would be unable to find suitable food or suitable medicine, a proper attendant or someone to guide him to a village. So here this traveler is caught in between two villages, too far, cannot walk back or walk in front. He's got no more food, no more water, very tired, very hungry, very weak, helpless, fainted. And the worst thing about this kind of traveler is, once you're like that, maybe you might get robbed. Thieves and robbers come in, steal all the precious things away, might even get beaten up. So, you come across this kind of person. Look at 15.3. A certain person would see the traveler on the road. out of compassion for him, he would attend to him. Out of pity, he would attend to him. Out of kindness, he would attend to him, thinking, oh, that this man would get suitable food, or suitable medicine, or a proper attendant, or someone to guide him to a village. Why is that? So that he does not fall into any disaster or calamity. Right? So this is how we look at someone who is very negative in body, very negative in speech. And also, there's no break, it's always like that, so it appears, to us at least. So here we remember this traveler who is suffering. Because this traveler, if it is not helped, you will get into trouble. What does this mean? This is a very gentle way of saying, obviously this person who is bad in speech, bad in action, and without a break, always like that, must be suffering some very great unhappiness. And imagine the karma this person is creating. Every time a person is angry, you create back karma. You talk bad stuff, you get create back karma. So out of compassion, we say, I forgive this person. Right? Compassion means you are kind to people even when they don't deserve it. Compassion. Kuan Yin, embodiment of compassion. Kuan Yin accepts everyone, good or bad, especially the bad. Imagine if, there was a time when somebody came to me, I was a monk at that time, this person said, I'm not good enough to go to temple, I do so many bad things. So I said, oh, you think in the temple only all good people? I mean, if you think only good people come to the temple and bad people stay outside, then we have a serious problem, Temples are for bad people, okay? That's the important thing to understand. Good people become better, bad people also become better, right? And if you can think that you want to come to a temple and you think you are bad, that's the most wonderful decision you have made, right? So some people, in fact, that's a good feeling. They feel, wow, I've done something wrong. It starts there, okay? Now let me correct myself. So when you come to temple, you change your life. You better your life, right? So you must also show compassion to yourself, in other words. Like this traveler, okay? Here, I think some of the people view this video remember, say, oh yes, I remember, the Christians, the Jews also have a story. It's called the Good Samaritan. Now, this is a very interesting story, This parable is the most unbiblical, unchristian of the parables, by the way. Because the story goes like this, There's a traveler who was beset by thieves on the road. So he's left unconscious and nearly naked, nothing, all taken away, even his clothes got stolen. A priest comes along, two kinds of priests, a holy priest, high-class priest, They see this dead man, first one said, oh yeah, see this person alive or dead? They have to check, first, say, this person in really bad condition. So this person said, no, I don't think we can help. But this priest are high class, they say, we got no time for this, we got rituals to perform, ceremonies, so they move on. Second group of priests come along, this priest is even more high class, They look at this man, check again, dead or alive? You know why? Dead, they have nothing to do with this person because the dead is impure, they want to go away. They see this man nearly dead, because nobody helped so long already, So they also move on. Nobody helped. This holy man, they didn't help this stricken traveler. A third person, this third person is a Sumerian, he is like an outcast. In fact, the other people all look down, just the different tribe. This outcast person look at this traveler, without second thought, quickly help him, give him his own cloak, dress him up, carried him in his own cart, and take him to the inn, to a little rest house. And then tell the innkeeper, say, please take care of this man, nurse him back to health. I pay you double what you charge. Right? And he goes away. That's a story, very beautiful story. This story, according to Christ, is that you should be kind to everyone, whether they are Christians or not. How many people follows that? Right? Here you have a similar story, where the Buddha says, when you help this person, you must have the right mind, loving kindness, compassion. So you find all these similar stories, they enrich our lives. They remind us to be kind to people, right? As Buddhists, we help people out there. somebody is in trouble, we don't go up to the person and say, are you a Buddhist or not? And you say, yes, I'm a Buddhist. Do you come to the Buddhist or not? I said, no, sorry, I don't have you. It's not like that. You don't even ask, are you Buddhist or not? If this person is stricken, we just help this person. Yeah? We might not even bother what your religion is. Of course, for us, we might give them a copy of Simple Joy's Life, so that they go back and read, be happy, okay? But otherwise, we won't kind of like, politicize the situation, if you like. So my point here is, compassion is unconditional. We help others even when we don't deserve it, right? So finally, we come to the happy person, yeah? The fifth person. There was one of pure speech, pure deed, and open mind. Section 16. Here also is regard a certain person who is both pure in bodily conduct and pure in verbal conduct, but who occasionally obtains an open mind, a heart of bright faith. How should resentment towards that person be removed? Here we have the pleasant lotus lake parable. Also, just as there is a lotus lake with clear water, sweet and cool, with a beautiful stretch of white sand shaded by various pleasant trees. This is one of the most pleasant imageries in the suttas, Clear lotus lake, no water plants like the other one, right? And then there's a beautiful sandy beach, and they got nice trees. They're a nice place, I think the Singaporeans love this kind of place for holidays, And then there's this traveler, we ourselves are traveling on the road, very hot, very parched up, and we come to this kind of lotus pond. We go into the water, bathe and drink, and then we come out very nice and relaxed. We lie down on the sandy beach or under the tree, so happy, right? So, what does this mean? Here, the sutta says, look at 17.5. One should at time pay attention to the purity of the bodily conduct. One should at time pay attention to the purity of the verbal conduct, or at time when you obtain an open mind, a heart of bright faith, pay attention to that. So we recall the good aspects of this person, right? When we do Buddhist work, especially after many, many years, you begin to know all the ins and outs of temples, personalities, what's going on. In every religion, there are always a group of people who know so much about it, and in the end, they give up. They give up. They go some quiet place and live by themselves. But there are also a group of people who don't give up. They feel that they can teach others, inform others what really is going on, and so that they also don't get tricked and troubled by what is wrong in the religion. And there are a lot of such people in all the religions. So, if you spend like 30, 40 years studying in detail, very deep, Buddhism, you find sometimes even the best teachers have wrong views. The best teachers sometimes misbehave themselves. People don't know. But because you know the Vinaya, you know the Dharma, you look at it, you know what's going on. But it's difficult to talk about such things, because people get shocked. So what do? Do we get quiet? Because if you get quiet, then you become part of the problem also. Because you didn't raise the problem, then you allow it to happen. There is a rule in the monks' Vinaya, by the way. If a monk keeps silent about a big rule which another monk has broken, that monk also is culpable. It's a bit like French law. If you see somebody is hurt and you don't help, you are in trouble, right? So this is never, silence is not an option. But yet, if you talk too much, you cause trouble, you also get into trouble. And that's so difficult. The middle way is to translate suttas. And this is what I'm doing. I'm not finished yet. It's how you translate the suttas. Okay? Because we want to know what the Buddha teaches, We don't want simply to roll off our head and say things which make matters worse. What does the Buddha say? So what we can do with the translation is still say, okay, this is what the Buddha says. You see how it reflects what's going on today. For example, there is a sutta called the Ahita Thera Sutta, where the Buddha says even famous monks have wrong views. So it's not my opinion, you see. So people will say, oh yeah, Buddha said that, meaning we should not follow the wrong view, right? We cannot condemn the whole monk, of course, it's just a wrong view. We say, okay, this wrong view we want to follow, right? But this monk has got some good qualities, okay? Something like that, yeah? But sometimes the thing can be very serious. Again, we look at the sutta and we say, okay, this was happening, this is what we should not do, this is what we should do. And you find that lots of this kind of stuff embedded in this collection, which is now about 10,000 pages of this kind of pages. No? A lot of these kinds of things are recorded here for the future, so that they will be happier, they have the happy kind of Buddhism in the future. So we don't destroy each other in Buddhism. We try not to hurt each other in Buddhism. We try to look at their good aspects and then try to inspire them to be better people, in other words. So this kind of sutta is reminding us to do just that. Then finally the sutta closes, 17.9. Also, when the person's heart is bright with faith, he is thoroughly pleasant, charming. This is a very important line, notice. When a person's heart is bright with faith, when you are happy, then you look charming. Okay, you want to make friends, influence people, be happy. That's why we do a lot of loving kindness. You come and see Buddha image, every temple you go to, you see a Buddha image which is happy. If you ever gone to a temple, you see Buddha image not happy, angry or looking sad, right? Oh, there are some rare images show the Buddha suffering and very thin and so on. And that one is only an artistic picture showing the Buddha suffered before he awakened. But all the Buddha images show happiness, because when you look at the image, you are reminded to be happy. Buddhists, by definition, are happy people. If you really practice Buddhism, you will be happy people like the Thais. I spent 5 years in Thailand. I remember them as happy people. They were very happy 5 years, although I went through a lot of difficulties. They were very happy years. Whatever the Thais do, they do happily. Like they even go for demonstration, they go for all these things happily, right? So, you want to be a Buddhist? Learn to be happy first. And this sutta is one way of starting. So, the last line says, these are also, here again Sariputta is talking, are the 5 ways of removing resentment, by which resentment that has arisen in a monk should be removed completely. So the sutta ends here. Okay. Any questions to ask?
Piya, I have a comment on the word resentment.
Yeah.
Resentment normally means anger. Anger, aversion, and so on.
Oh yes, yes.
But in the 5 stories that we see here, we are looking at examples of doing kind things and applying wisdom, that sort of thing. Like the drinking the water from the hoof print, to me that's a wise thing. But I don't see any anger or resentment in that sort of example.
Well, no, that's the healing part, it's opposite of resentment actually.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know whether this is.
No, you're right in the. I had some problem trying to translate because the word is not a normal word. Agata, In Thailand, they pronounce it as akha. It refers to, in a sense, when you don't like someone, you resent someone. There's anger, there's ill will. That's called agata. That's why I settle for resentment. Maybe it is ill will, but ill will is too broad. So what we do is we will explain it in notes. So this is what I mean. Yeah. So redefine the word.
The guy helping the sick. That's compassion.
Yeah. No, that is the solution. That's the solution. So the resentment is not described. It's the solution that is being described here. So the man bending down, drink water, that is the solution. That's what we should do. It's the opposite of agata. It will be compassion, loving kindness, patience, things like that.
I also can't see the analogy of the tree.
Which one? The hoof print, huh?
I can see the analogy, the dusty.
Okay. Right, the hoof print, what number is that?
The section 3.
3, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can't see the analogy.
Okay, the person is both impure in body, impure in speech, but occasionally, only occasionally is nice. Only occasionally nice. That means that a little puddle of water, a little bit only. The water is so limited. If you put in your finger or you do anything, the water will get muddy, you know. So you have to very carefully drink it. In other words, this person is usually negative, you know, but there are short moments like the puddle of water. That short moment of goodness. So we remember that brief moment of goodness. Yeah,
Okay.
that's how it's connected.
So,
Yeah.
but you say that this is a solution. I mean, all these are solutions.
Mhm.
So,
It's a reflection. You reflect at that moment. You say, oh, that little moment, he is good. Okay. So what we want to do is we think the moment you think of something good in your mind, one thought is enough. That thought will push away negative thoughts. Right?
not quite enough.
You got to practice. Okay. Anger is easiest to clear away of the three poisons. All right. Anger is the easiest. You might notice that. In fact, there is another simple teaching given by the Buddha in the Pitaka Santana Sutta. When you're angry, you just think a happy thought is gone. Another method is, which I often use, is what's called disowning the pain. Don't own the pain, right? You say, okay, this anger. First, recognize this is anger. Okay? This anger is not good. I don't want this. I'm letting go of it. I'm letting go of it. Once you say that, you find the anger going away. So that's another way of dealing with it. So there are many methods of dealing with anger. In the sutta, it is said anger is you have greed, hatred, delusion. Greed, anger, delusion. Anger is the easiest to push away. Greed, desire is harder, more tricky. The most difficult is delusion. Delusion is even more tricky. You don't even know it's there. But anger is the easiest to clear up. Okay. Any other question? Okay, no more questions. So we end here then. So we have this volume 3, right, of the Simple Joy. If you don't have it, please collect. It's free books. These are also connected with the same book. There's some articles on meditation here. These are books which help you to just read and be happy. Yeah. I got a lot of feedback from people. They read it, they say, I feel happy, and that's enough for me to hear. People from overseas also. Only today, this morning before I came, I was reading this email, and this lady was saying, you know, I wrote a special one for her because she wrote something to me about her experience in India. So she said, you know, I've read this so many times, again and again. Every time I read this, I feel happy. I said, yes, that's good enough for me. So these are not so much informative articles, they are more what I call healing articles. That's why your book is called Loving Words. Nah? And then there was one volume called Healing Words. Because these are, I'm writing in a style, it's like a prayer. Other religions say it's a book of prayer. But this one is, you read it and you just feel peaceful and happy. Sometimes it makes you think, like this book also makes you think about certain things in Buddhism, how you can correct it, how you can do it right. And then you have this other book, last book, this is by Analayo, a monk, scholar monk. It is a very good book on the nuns, on why the nuns' order should be accepted. This article he wrote is in 4 languages, English, Sinhalese, Thai and Burmese. The legality of the bhikkhuni ordination. I've gone through this, and I've quoted this book. So these are 3 books I observed the rest. Alright, let us close this study. Here we are gathered together to study the sutras. Once a week or occasionally, we come to the temple, center, or we reflect on the sutras. So that we're in touch with the Buddha's teaching and we're reminded how to live very simply and be happy. The sutras are telling us deep inside our hearts lie the answer. The real Dharma is inside us, not outside. Of course, what we see outside can remind us of what the Dharma is, but we have to look within ourselves. So when we study the sutta, it's like looking into a mirror, looking at ourselves, by looking deep into our hearts, and cleaning it up, making it more beautiful and peaceful. So allow the suttas to bring happiness into our lives, to feel peaceful. And this will help us to meditate better, to direct our happy thoughts to others, that they may be happy too. These are lifelong skills, something that we can learn and practice forever, for as long as we live, even the following lives and the lives to come, because what we learn is never lost. It will help us even in our future lives. The fact that we are gathered here means even in past lives we have shown an interest in the Dharma. So here we are together again, studying the Buddha's teachings. Reflecting in this way is very good karma. By the power of this karma, may we continue to be at peace with ourselves. May we find true happiness in this life itself. Above all, may we attain spiritual liberation, namely stream winning in this life itself. In this moment of peace, let us send out our loving kindness to all the beings here, to all those who have worked very hard for this place, to all the people who come here, that they will find happiness and be good people. Let us send our thoughts of loving kindness to our loved ones, that they may be well and happy wherever they are. And also to those whom the Dharma have not touched, that their lives may change for the better. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So just to remind you, we have our class every second and fourth Sunday. It's either here or in the library on the other side. It's two places.